If you haven't watched part 1 of 2-part series, please watch part 1 and come back. Link of the part 1 is in the description. Now, let's talk about how we perform dopamine detox. By now, you might already have an idea what the dopamine detox is going to look like. What you're going to do is set aside a day where you're going to avoid all high dopamine activities. You're going to stop flooding your brain with high amounts of dopamine, and you're going to let your dopamine receptors recover. Just a disclaimer, this is not a medical advice. If you're suffering from drug addiction, then I would suggest you to seek a professional help. Now back to the topic. For one entire day, you will try to have as little fun as possible. You won't be using internet or any technology like your phone or computer. You're not allowed to listen music. You're not allowed to watch pornography. You're not allowed to eat junk food. Basically, you're going to remove all the sources of the external pleasure for the entire day. You're going to embrace the boredom. However, you're allowed to do following things. You can go to the walk, you can exercise, meditate, and be alone with your thoughts, reflect on your life, and write down the ideas you get on piece of paper. All of this might seem quite intense initially, but if you want radical results and you want them faster, you need to take radical actions. You might be asking yourself, why would this even work? You can think of it this way. Let's say that you have been driving the most expensive cars in your town. As a result, what happened is that those fancy cars become your new normal. If someone offered you to drive a normal car for your daily activities, you would probably refuse. It simply doesn't sound appealing, as you are addicted to the fancy cars. But if you suddenly find yourself stranded on the deserted road and you're starving, suddenly that any type of car doesn't seem so bad. And this is what dopamine detox does. It makes those less satisfying activities more desirable. To put it simply, dopamine detox works because you become so bored that boring stuff becomes more fun. Now, if you don't want to take such extreme action and starve yourself to all the pleasures, you can perform a smaller dopamine detox. You're going to pick one day of a week where you're going to refrain from one high dopamine activity. Whatever that behavior might be, maybe checking your phones all the time, watching Netflix, or watching TV, eating junk food, internet pornography, whatever. From now on, every single week for an entire day, you will not do that activity. Yes, you will feel slightly bored, but that's the point. You want to let your dopamine receptor recover from the unnaturally high dopamine. Of course, avoiding the dopamine behavior once in a while is good, but ideally you should avoid those behaviors altogether, or at least as much as possible. Forming a mini habit will help a lot. You should watch how to form a mini habit that sticks around for a longer time. I will put a link in the description. Now, this is exactly how I do it for myself. I track all the difficult low dopamine work. For example, cleaning my apartment, meditation, reading books, doing some sort of exercise, creating video for you guys, etc. etc. And after some amount of work done, I reward myself with some amount of high dopamine activity at the end of the day. The keyword here is after and at the end of the day, not the before. I always start with difficult things first, only then I allow myself to indulge into high dopamine activities. To give you an example, for every completed hour of low dopamine work, I reward myself with 15 minutes of high dopamine behavior at the end of the day. That means for 8 hours of low dopamine activities, I allow myself 2 hours of high dopamine activities. Of course, these are my ratios. You can play with the numbers and find whatever the time suits you. To conclude this video, I want to say that it is possible to make doing difficult things feel easier. But when your brain is getting so much amount of dopamine all the time, you won't be excited about the working on something that doesn't release much of it. That's why you might want to limit your phone activities, computer usage, along with other high dopamine activities. And I can tell you that it's definitely worth it. So if you have motivation problem, start dopamine detox in the brain as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you tap that like button. It helps out my channel a lot. as the YouTube algorithm sees that the people like this type of content and it shows to the bigger crowd. This allows more people to start improving their lives. As always, thanks for watching. I hope this video will put you one step ahead in the line. See you again.